Today I'm going to be showing you the ultimate AI personal assistant, and as you can see from the list of tools here, it can do quite a lot, from conducting research to managing your inventory, your CRM, your calendar events, and even your email inbox. Now I'm going to start with a quick demo to show you a little bit of what this agent can do, and then I'm going to walk you through step by step of this entire workflow, and then also show you how you can download and set this up for completely free inside of your N8N account. Now on the right side of my screen here, you can see an example of an inventory spreadsheet that I have pulled up. So one of the things that this agent can do is actually manage and get and update inventory. So I could say what products so you can see it accesses this inventory spreadsheet, and it says we have the HDMI cable premium here. Now I can adjust that amount also. So I could say adjust that amount to 5. So it was originally 33, and we can see on C5 here it updates to 5, and then it also updated the reorder date as well. So that is a little bit of how it can help you manage your inventory, and then I'm going to show you the way that it can interact with our CRM and also with our calendar and our email as well. So I'm going to ask it to list for this example, I'm just asking it to list the leads that are under the cold status. So you can see it lists them out here, gives me their phone number, website, notes, and then it even gives me a link to go directly to their page inside of my Notion database here. So I could say as you can see, I just asked it to update one of the contacts. This is just an example contact for myself. I just gave it a fake phone number, and you can see that was populated inside of my CRM here. And I can also say something like, please so I could say, please send me, I guess in my CRM here, an email about our meeting for tomorrow at 1 p.m. And then I also want you to add an event to my calendar. So if I go over quickly, and I can show you my email inbox. So this is my business email inbox. It's currently empty right now. And then the calendar here is also currently empty. So if I send this message, you can see that meeting is directly populated into my calendar for 1 p.m. meeting with Garrett. And then I can go to my inbox, and you can see that we received an email. You can see it gives us an itinerary for that meeting, and then confirm the meeting. And you can see it is successfully completed both of those tasks, both sending the email and updating my calendar, all through just one simple message to this bot here. So that's the inventory, the CRM, the calendar, and the email. And then I could even say conduct some research for me. So for this example, I'm using, I believe, a technology company. So you can see some of the products we have here. So I can just ask it basic trends. So find me you can see it lists out a bunch of different trends here. So market insights, emerging technologies, mobile commerce growth, and yeah, a bunch of relevant trends to the technology industry in this case. And yeah, that gives you kind of a brief overview of all the different things this agent can actually do, and using the variety of tools that it actually has available to that agent. So now I'm going to walk you through how you can download the template for this agent, and then actually walk you through setting this up for yourself and the variety of workflows that actually go into this agent. So to get started with this, we're going to head over to n8n.io. It looks like they actually recently updated their homepage. It looks kind of sick. So you're going to want to create an account here, and then we're going to log into our home overview page, which is going to look something like this. So I've just searched for the different workflows that we're going to be using inside of this one agent. However, when you're first getting started, you're going to go down to the link in the description and download the templates there. I have a link and it will take you to a folder with all of these templates for this one agent ready to download and then be imported into your N8N account. So to do that, you're going to download each of the JSON files for each of these workflows. And then for each workflow, we're going to select create a new workflow, which will bring you to this open editor here. So since you already have that JSON file, we're going to go to the top right and select these three dots and then select import from, not URL, from file. So you're just going to select import from file, select that JSON file for each of the workflows, and then it'll be imported into your N8N account here. So after we have imported all of these workflows, we have the kind of the agent overseeing everything, this just general operations agent, the CRM, the research, inventory, the email, and then the calendar here. You can see all of those are listed out here. So I'm going to start walking you through this first kind of overarching operations agent here, which we are actually interacting with. So as you probably saw during the demo, we are using a messenger platform called Telegram. Telegram allows you to interact with this agent on your phone or through your computer like I was just doing. And what we need to do is we need to create a Telegram account if you don't already have one. So create a free account on there. And then we need to set up a connection to actually interact with a Telegram bot through N8N. So to do that, you're going to go to your Telegram account, and then you're going to need to start a conversation with what is called BotFather. You can see the username here is @BotFather. And then I believe that already happened, so /start should already happen. And then it gives you a list of commands here. We're going to do /new bot to create a new bot. And then it will ask you to name it, give you the link to start messaging that bot, and then it will give you the API access token here. So that API key or access token, we're going to go back to N8N, click on credential, create new credential, paste in that access token into this field here, click save, and then that will connect your account inside of N8N to the bot you have just created inside of Telegram. So I'm going to close out of that. We can go back into N8N, and then I'm going to walk you through what this agent is has been prompted to do. So I'm going to open this agent up. You can see we have a text section here. This is just the prompt for the agent, and then we have the system message, which is the system message, which basically tells this agent how to act and how to respond to the prompt here. So I'm going to open up this prompt that we're giving this agent, and it says you're to help the owner of an e-commerce store. This is just the example I was using, an e-commerce store selling technology. And then I'm saying that you have access to the following tools and agents. So I just list out all of the agents here. So email, calendar. You can kind of read through the rest of those. And then here we're just giving it a calendar tool as well, just in case. And then here we're saying that you should keep in mind that the agents do not have memory. And basically just telling this agent that it should then prompt the other agents using this main agent's memory. And what this just does is it allows this agent to essentially pass on the previous conversations that we've had with this and just make sure that it's giving the sub agents that it's actually calling enough information that it can actually execute the tasks. So after this, we are just giving it a variable for today's date. And then we're saying always respond less than 3,000 characters. This is just a character limit on the Telegram messages that it is sending back to us. So I set this quite a bit under. It's usually, I think it's 4,000 something characters that are limited inside of Telegram. This does tend to go over a little bit, so I just set it at 3,000 to give it plenty of room to go over. And then really quick, I just want to point out that this gray bit of text here is just a variable representing the message that we ourselves are sending through Telegram. So whatever we're sending through Telegram is then filled in for this bit of text here at the top. So I'm going to click out of this prompt here. I'm going to open up this system message. Pretty basic system message, just saying you're a personal assistant for the owner of an e-commerce store that sells technology. So depending on how you're using this, you're going to want to edit these prompts You can change the tools out here, and then just change, obviously. You might not be an e-commerce store or selling technology. So you can kind of modify these prompts how you'd like. And then I'm going to now start going through these connections below this agent. So on the left side here, we have the AI chat model. This is just the AI model that this agent is actually using. And in this case, we're using OpenAI. So if I open up this little node here, you're going to want to connect your account if you haven't already done so. So to do that, it's very simple. We just look up OpenAI API, click on this overview here, really any part of this website. We're going to log in. So once you're logged in, we're going to go up to the top right here and select dashboard. Go over to the left side, select API keys, and we're just going to create a new secret key. So you're going to want to write this key down somewhere safe. You don't want to share this with anybody, but we're going to want to copy this secret key. We can go back into Iniden, select create new credential, and paste in that API key here. Click save, and that will connect your OpenAI account into Iniden. Now you will have to add something like $5, I think, to start using this API, but it will last you forever, really. Not expensive at all. And then here we're just having a window buffer memory. This just allows, like I was saying earlier, this agent to actually access previous messages that have been sent by us, the user, or the agent inside of the chat. Makes our lives a lot easier. We can just reference the previous messages like I did here when I said, please add, I guess I specified it there, but we could just say, please send a contact number 1 in email, and it will just know to reference the previous contact that was just sent. So there's nothing you have to do here. This is just filled in by a variable. And now I can actually start walking you through the other agents that are being used in this workflow. So I'll start out with the research agent. I have a video out on all of these individually. However, I'm going to link a little bit of a different template than I've set up inside of the other videos. So I'll show you what I mean by that. The research agent I'll open, for example. So if you saw my other video on the automated research, I was interacting with this workflow here through Telegram, like I'm doing in this video. However, this was a Telegram message trigger. So whenever we sent a message through Telegram, it would be picked up here, fed into these agents, and then responded through Telegram. So I've deleted this last step here where there previously was a Telegram step to send the message back to ourselves. And instead what this does is it sends the response from this last agent back to the operations agent here. And then I replaced the Telegram trigger with the when executed by another workflow. And what this does is it allows this operations agent to then send a value, which in this case is the info for research. So it can say, based on what we just searched for, it will then determine and send a value for this variable that, in this case, what we want to do research on. And then I've edited the prompts here to actually take in that info for research instead of the which was before the Telegram message. So a couple simple modifications to this, not anything major. And then what this agent also has access to is a Tably search tool here, which I will also link. This I've linked in the research agent, like I mentioned before. So I'll walk you through what each of the agents are actually doing, and then I'll show you briefly how to set this up. I've done it in previous videos, but I'll just do it really quickly. So like I said, I replaced this first step with info for research, which is filled in by the operations agent. Then this first agent is just in charge of collecting all the information it can about a given topic, which is then was filled in by the previous agent, which is calling this workflow. Next, we are synthesizing or just summarizing all of that information in this step here, and then we are formatting it and responding to, in this case, the response here goes back to the operations agent, which I showed you at the start of the video. Now, I think I got a comment in my last video talking about this research agent. You don't need all 3 steps here. This just allows the agent to break up the work and kind of take on a specific role. So this one was solely in charge of getting the information. And then we can worry about formatting it and summarizing it later in other steps. You could easily combine these. I kind of just did this as a way to show how you can break up different workflows into different agents and then give the agent a more specific job of what it should actually be doing. So you can kind of read through the prompts. I'm not going to spend too much time going over the actual prompts. I will show you how to set up this Tavly search tool here. You literally just go to Tavly. Just look up Tavly, tavly.com. Looks like this. Just going to log in. So once you log into your account, you'll be brought to this overview page. Tavly makes it really easy. We just literally click plus to make an API key, copy the API key, and then we can go back to init-in, and I'll show you briefly what that workflow looks like. So you'll just download this and import it the same way. We're going to just be using the news Tavly search here. So the news just gets more relevant information. I'll show you how to change that in just a second, but this again is just executed by another workflow. Just has the search prompt, what you want to actually search for. HTTP request here just connects to Tavly, and then this JSON body will actually be filled in already. And what this is doing, use the API key, pass in the search query, which is the search prompt passed in by the other agent, and then some basic filters here. So we're just getting 2 results. Topic is news. You can change this to general. You just type out general here inside of these quotes. I'm just going to leave this as news though. And then all you have to do is just inside of this insert API key, just literally highlight what I'm doing here and paste in your API key, and you're good to go. So that is how you set up and start using the Tavly web search tool. I'm going to close out of this. We can go back into the research tool here. So that is all you have to do here, because you've already connected your OpenAI account, and then you set up the Tavly search tool. So that is how you set up the research agent. Then I can walk you through the, what's up next, the inventory. So this is the most recent video I put out of these agents being used here. So the research agent, again, we're passing in this case, the task for execution is what I call this variable. So again, the operations agent passes in the task for execution that should be executed by this inventory agent. So here I have 2 different inventory sheets open. I have the current one, which if you have actual physical inventory, this would be, the warehouse spaces or the bay locations for the inventory. What product is there, has the SKU listed here, the quantity, then the reorder date, you can kind of see all that. Then I have the master data sheet, which just contains more information about these actual specific products that our company might have. So inside of the inventory management, I'll briefly explain this. I have another video explaining this more in depth, but this first one are tools that the agent can use to modify the current sheet here, so we can get information about whatever item is at a given location or what location an item is at. You can search basically through any of these values here. So it allows us to search here. We can update locations, and then we can create. So if you have a physical warehouse, you probably won't be using this create tool much, but you can kind of get the overall idea of this. And then over here, this accesses the master data sheet here. So this can just search for information regarding, specific products. And again, it can search for any one of these columns, so pieces of information there. So yeah, here I'm just listing the different sheets. Charge of managing inventory. passing that task for execution, defining the sheets there, tools here, and then just giving it today's date here at the bottom. So same as the last one, OpenAI, and then the window buffer memory. And then here for the Google Sheet tools, you'll want to go through and set these up for yourself. What you'll need to do is connect your Google Sheet account. I don't believe you have to create a Google Cloud project for this. I think you can just literally click sign in with Google and it'll ask you to sign in. If for some reason this screen looks different, it might be asking for a client ID. You're just going to, if it's asking for a client ID and a client secret, click at the top. It should say Open Docs and it will have the N8N documentation to kind of walk you through that. But mine's just asking me to sign in with Google, and it's really simple. You just click sign in with your Google account, give it access to N8N, so it'll just prop up with a list of things to access, and you just click all, save, and then it will connect your account. So then what we're going to want to do is the first several things you can just leave the same. The document, you're going to want to select the name of the document that you've created or the sheet that you've created. So Inventory Management Agent is what mine is called. You can see that here. And then the sheet, you're just going to select the current or the one with the physical locations. And then you list out the column. So these you'll just add manually and it will allow you to choose it from a list. So I'll show you this. So reorder date, you literally just click add column to send, click reorder date, and then you're going to set this field to expression, and then you can paste in, or you're gonna have to type this, but what you do is you type 2 curly brackets, a $, and then we type from AI. You can see on my screen here, quotations, and then I'm just going to enter the name of the column that I'm sending in. So what this allows it to do is this allows the AI agent to actually send in what should be filled in here, and it just knows that I should plug in the reorder date in this field here. So make sure this turns gray. Again, I have 2 curly brackets, space, $ from AI, parentheses, and then quotes inside those parentheses, and then just specify reorder date or the name of the column here. You can see the other examples that I've done. So then once you've done that, you can click out of the create tool there. We can go into get. This is going to be a similar process. So again, everything here you can leave the same. Select the document, select the sheet. Again, it's going to be current. And then here we're adding search filters. And what you're going to do is, again, select all of the columns and then add the value set to expression from AI. And then in this case, you just do location because it's the location column. So you're going to repeat that for all the columns here. And then the combined filters, you're going to make sure it's set to OR. And what this does is it allows the AI to search for the quantity and or the SKU, and make sure this is not set to and. If it's set to and, it's going to make sure that the search matches all of these filters, and we don't want that. We want it to be able to search for just the reorder date or just the quantity, things like that. So make sure this is set to OR. Click out of this, we can go to update. And this is going to be a similar thing. So select the document, select the sheet, again is current. Leave everything here the same. The column we're going to match on, it doesn't really matter too much. I just set it to location. And then the location, you're just going to do again from AI, set it to expression. And then you can add all the columns to send here and just do the same thing that I've already done. So I did leave out row number. I just entered the columns that I have. So you can kind of just copy what's on my screen and make sure it matches up with your Google Sheet here. So up next, I have a calculator. You don't need to do anything here. It's just blank, but allows it to do calculations like recalculate the reorder date. And then over here on the right side, this accesses the master data sheet. So this is just used to reference information. And when I was saying recalculate the order date, the reorder date, You can see that on the current sheet here. So the reorder date, and what it does is it goes over to the master data sheet and it finds this reorder point, the minimum stock, and then the lead time for the days that it takes the from the order being placed to actually receiving that product. So it uses these three, maybe just the minimum stock and the lead time, to calculate the reorder date that we need to actually place the orders to get these products in time. So very cool. It can do really any calculation we need entirely for us and update it as we go. So I'll show you what this is doing. Your sheet account will already be connected. Leave everything the same. Select the document. The sheet, you're going to select that again. It should be master data sheet in this case. And then the filters, we're again just filtering so it can search for different things. So again, I just manually added the different columns here to allow it to search for those. And then again, just type from AI and then the name of the column there. Make sure it's set to expression so it's grayed out here. If it's fixed, it will not be grayed out, and that is not what we want. So make sure it's set to expression, turns gray. You're just going to repeat that for all the columns. And then again, make sure the combined filters is set to OR. And you're good to go as far as the inventory agent goes. So next up, we have the CRM agent here. So I'll open that up and show you what this is doing. So here, you can see I modified this. So we're just sending in another task for execution through the other workflow. This agent is just saying, execute the following task, give it that variable there, listed out the tools, and then each contact has the following information. So here I'm actually using Notion, a Notion database, to store my CRM in. And for this example, you can see that I have name, lead status, phone, email, website, and then notes. You can see I've listed out those, and then each of the lead status, I've also listed out the different options that it can select for lead status, because when the agent is entering the lead status or it's changing the lead status, it has to match this text exactly. So you're going to want to make sure that you specify this inside of the prompt here. And then here I'm just saying if I don't specify a lead status, then just set it to not contacted. This is just a personal preference thing that I want it to default to not contacted. So for this, I'm actually setting up a Notion database, which I'll walk you through very quickly. So I'm going to head over to my Notion account. You might not want to do this, so you can kind of skip forward. I'll have the timestamps at the bottom so you can go past this part. But if you do want to use a Notion database for your CRM, I'm going to open a new page. So create a new page. I'll title this. This is just the title for the page. This doesn't really matter. And then I'll fill in the body of this page here. So to do that, I'm going to type a / to get the list of commands. And then I'm going to type database, select inline database here. And then I can name this database. So I'm going to just name it just something so you know what it is. And then what we can actually do here is we can add an example page. So you can see we just have a field here for the name. So I'll just name it something random, do Steve. And then we can add a list of properties here. So this just gives this page properties. So in my previous example, you could see all the different properties that I have here. So you can edit this depending on the different properties you want your contacts to have. So you can scroll through, they already have some options here. Just click phone. And then you can kind of go through and add. I'll show you lead status just because it's a little bit different. Phone, it just automatically fills in. You can just start typing inside of the phone section there. Lead status, I'll show you. This is just a little bit different like I just said. So there are 3 different sections here. So to do, in progress, and complete. So it doesn't really matter what section you're using. You can use all of them. And then what you can do is add different status. So I might want to add a status for cold. It's a cold lead, type cold, and then hit enter, and it will add a progress section for that. And then what you can do is edit. It defaults to not started, in progress, and done. So let's say done, I want to edit to closed. So you can just click on done. You can change the text here, and you can change the color as well. I'll leave that as green, and you just hit enter, and it saves it there. And then let's say I want to change this to warm, and I might want that to be red. So you can just change the text, click out of it, and then this I could change to not contacted. Hit enter, and then it saves it there, and you can see that's the default status for leads. So I can close out of this example sheet here, and you can see the different what's it called, properties, I guess, have been populated at the top here. And then what we can do is we actually need to connect this to Iniden. So if I open up, go back to Iniden and open up this contact, or really any of the tools, we just need to connect your account. We scroll down the credential, create new credential, and then we need this integration, internal integration secret, which we can get by going into Notion. You're going to go to this menu here on the side. I can move my camera there. Scroll all the way down, go to settings, go to connections here, I believe. So click connections. There's two connections. So make sure you go to the top connections here, and they're going to select develop or manage integrations. So this will open a website, and you can see some of my examples here. So you're going to do create new integration, access the workspace. So you're just going to select your workspace, do internal, and then we can name it here. So I just recommend putting something like Iniden, just so you know what it is. Click save, configure integration settings. You can change the capabilities here. I just left them all the same for mine. And then you can copy this integration secret. Again, you don't want to share that with anybody, but we're going to go back into Iniden, and you're just going to paste that integration secret in here. Click save, and that will connect your account. And then there's actually one more thing we need to do. So if we go back into Notion, close out of this settings little tab there, we need to actually give it access to this specific database. So to do this, when we're on the page that we just created, we're going to go up to the top right and select these three dots. Scroll down to connections. And then this will give you all of the connections that are available and that you have created. So for mine was example. So I'm just going to click example, and we'll give it access. You click confirm. You can see we now have one connection, which is example. So now we have set up the connection to Iniden and then given Iniden access to this specific page here, which includes the database that we just connected or just created. So now we can go back to Iniden. And then for the update tool, the page ID. So we're going to open this example contact that we just created. So click open. Then we can click share. I'm just going to open this all the way just to make sure. Click share. Copy the link for this specific contact page here. Then what we can do is paste that into our browser. You don't want to actually search, but you can see that's the name of the page here. And then there's a little dash, and then you can see a long string of characters here. And what we can do is we're actually going to copy this. So from the dash, not including the dash, and then stopping before this question mark here, we're going to copy this. And that is what is the page ID. So if I go back into here, we're going to be searching by the page ID. And what you're going to do is you're going to set this to fixed, paste in that page ID, and then it will allow you to edit and add properties for that page. So you can see I've listed out all the properties. So updated lead status, updated contact website, phone number, notes, and then the name for the contact. So this is when we are updating a contact that already exists. and you just need to plug in a page ID as an example to just get access. You can see it says an error fetching options. So all you need is just an example page ID. So plug in that ID, and then it will allow you to add the properties here. And again, just manually type out the from AI, update contact name, or whatever properties you have inside of your Notion page. So you can see you would manually add phone number and then the status. So add those here, and then set to expression, and then add it. So it allows the AI to fill in and update, in this case, the contact phone number, the contact notes, etc. And then after you've added those properties, we're going to set this page by ID back to expression, and then we're going to select that and add it as from AI, and then page ID of contact. So you're going to make sure that you say page ID somewhere in this text here, and this just tells the AI agent here, when it's calling this tool, to pass in the page ID of that specific contact that you're actually updating. So once you have that all filled in, you are good to go for the update tool. Don't worry, the rest are a lot easier to set up than that. So the create contact, select the database here. The title, you're just going to set to expression, and the title of the page in this case is going to be the contact name. So you can see this is just the page title, the name of the contact there. And then you're just going to manually add those same properties. It'll just populate with a list here. So a lot easier than the update contact tool, but select each of the properties that you want to be able to enter when you're creating a contact. And then you can just enter from AI, email of the contact, notes for the contact, etc. And that just tells the AI what to fill in here when you're creating a contact. And then when you are creating contacts through the chat message, it will just fill in blank for the, so if you don't enter an email, it'll just put in, I think, a couple spaces. Yeah, so you can see here, when creating a contact, fill it in with empty spaces, because otherwise it will pass in a null value, just saying that it doesn't exist, and that will actually error inside of Notion. So what I did was just, when you're creating a contact, if I don't specify anything, so if I don't say the email, just fill in the email with an empty space here. And that does not work when you are filling in the lead status. So that is why I specified to fill it in as not contacted in this case. So once you've created your Notion database, you're going to want to make sure you update these different status, lead status here, and then the different properties for each of your contacts here. So just make sure those match exactly, and then I'll walk you through this get contact here. So you're going to specify the database here. It'll just ask you from a drop down, so from list. Everything above you can just leave the same, and then it will ask you to build filter. The filter, you're just going to select build manually, must match any filter, and then if email equals, and then whatever the email is. So again, from AI, set to expression. So pretty much everything here I set to equals, except for the notes, just because it's a little bit longer. You might only be searching, you probably aren't going to search the entire note that you've entered. So if the note contains the value that you're searching for, then it will reply back. And then website also, I set to contains. So depending on the properties that you're searching for, you might want it to be equals, or you might want it to be contains. You can just go based on your judgment. So the name I actually set to contains as well, in case you have first and last name inside of the same section. You can search based on just the first name or just the last name, and it will just see if the name contains that, or whatever you're searching for. So you can see here I just did the exact same thing, the expression from AI, and then just gave it a little bit of information based on what it should fill in here. So in this case, the website of the contact. So I'll click into that, and that is it for the CRM agent. So we can go back here, and up next we have the calendar agent. So I'll go to calendar here, and then I can start walking you through this. So we can see that again, it's just the task to execute passed in from the operations agent into this. So here we just have a basic prompt: calendar assistant in charge of managing my calendar events. You are to execute the following. So again, that's just the task to execute here, filled in as a variable. And then I'm giving it access to the different tools. I kept mine pretty simple. You can add different tools if you want. I just say access events, create event, delete, and then change an event. And here I could not get the modify event to work as a tool. So I just said create a new event with the reflected changes and then delete the current one that's actually being changed. So just creates a new one, deletes the old one. Basically the same as changing, but there is an option to update an event. So if I show you that, you can just click add a tool here, type calendar, Google Calendar, and then operation is going to be update an event. That was just not working for me when I was making this. It might be fixed now, but you can try that out. And then here I'm just giving it today's date, just so it knows if I say create an event for tomorrow, it can go off today's date and just adjust accordingly. So again, we're using the same chat model, the same memory, so you won't have to do anything here. And then I'll walk you through creating and connecting your Google Calendar account. So create new credential. This I think is just saying sign in again. So I believe you don't need a Google Cloud account. So same thing, if it pops up with a client secret and a client ID, then click open docs at the top, and then it will walk you through how to actually do that process. I have another video talking about that as well. I forgot which one, but so I forgot what video it was, but there's plenty of videos out there showing you how to set up a Google Cloud project and connect it to Anyden. But like I said, just click on open docs at the top and it will walk you through that entire process. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just ignore that. You just click sign in with Google in this case. I'll ask you to log in with your Google account, and then again, you can approve and give access to Anyden for the list of things that will pop up kind of over here on the right side. So just select access all, and then it will connect your account. So we're going to click save. I'm just going to close out of this because I already have my account connected. And then here you can leave everything the same up top. The calendar, you're just going to select the calendar you just connected, and then this should be filled in. So event ID is just going to be again from AI, and then ID event to delete. That's it for the delete tool there. Create, again, you'll just leave everything the same. You'll have already connected your Google account. Select the calendar, and then the start and the end, and then the summary. So you do want to make sure that this is here. It should be already filled in, but if it's not, add a field, click summary, and that just allows you to add the event title. And then again, you're just going to fill in expression, set to expression, from AI, start of event, end of event, and then event title. So you can kind of explore the rest of these fields here. There's an option for all day, attendees, description. Yeah, so you can kind of explore those. If you want to add more specific calendar events, definitely add more fields here. And just because you add a field doesn't mean that the agent actually has to use it. You can just add one, and if it chooses to use it, or if you want to use it, then you just specify that inside of your message to Telegram, and it will do that there. So we can click out of create event, go into access events. This just gets a variety of different events. So leave everything here the same. You can see the operation is get many. There is an option for get and then get many. I just set to get many because it can also just get one at a time. So you save yourself from creating two different tools, and it does the same thing. So select your calendar, and then here we're just entering the after and then before, after date of event and the before date of event. And then again, you can kind of go through here and add different options to filter by. So that is it for that tool, and actually it for the entire calendar agent here. So go over to that, and I think that is the last. So calendar, and then all we have left is the email agent. So I'll open that up. We can walk you through that. So again, same thing as the last one's task to execute instead of the Telegram trigger. Chat model memory is the exact same. I'll walk you through the agent prompt here. So pretty simple system message, helpful email assistant in charge of managing my emails, not too complicated. And then here, you're to execute the following task to execute, which is passed in again from the operations agent. That's the same for all of them. And then we have access to the following tools. So send an email, get emails, delete an email, and then mark an email as opened. Then I'm giving it access to today's date. So I could filter, list emails from today, and it will filter, only get the emails from today, and just in case it really needs it for anything else. Here I'm saying when sending emails, please format them in HTML and include a signature that is Garrett's AI assistant. So this I just did from trial and error. So depending on how the emails are being formatted and then signed off, you can add different things like tone here. So maintain a friendly and professional tone, for example. So this is just kind of, you can edit this prompt depending on the responses that you're getting back. So you can just literally go down and say use a friendly tone. If I could type, oh my gosh, you get the point. Friendly tone. So you can just edit this prompt here. If you don't like how it's responding, just make any edits there. And then I can start walking you through these Gmail tools here. So mark as read. If we open up this, you can see the Gmail account. So create new credential. Create a sign-in with Google. So I believe that just asks you to log in again. I'll try this just as an example. So you can see it pops up at this page. I selected my Google account. It gives the list here. Create, select all, click continue, and then it will just give it access to all of the things that you just checked, which is completely fine. So we'll close out of that. So for mark as read, you leave these two the same. That's just setting the description for the tool. Resource is going to be a message or an email in this case. Mark as read, that's the operation, and then the message ID. So again, we're just filling it in for from AI, message ID of read email. So telling the AI to fill in a message ID here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Set to expression, again, for a variable. Pretty simple. Delete email. Again, pretty simple. We're just passing in the message ID of the email that we want to delete. So resources message, operations delete. Pretty self-explanatory there. Next is get emails. So a little bit more, but again, not too bad. So operation is going to be get many. This is the same thing as the last one. So we can filter based on the search criteria, received date, received after date, and then received before date. So we could say, received yesterday, and it will filter for both. It will fill in these two values there. Or you could just search, emails from this person, and that will fill in for the search criteria in this case. So like I just said, it's the same. So the resource is going to be message again. This is just emails. Operation is going to be get many. This again allows you to filter for just one or for many. So it can return just one, even though it's set to get many. And then I just explained the different filters here. So you can go through and add different ones if you'd like. And then we can click out of this, go to send an email. Again, we can leave all this the same. Again, a message, operation is going to be to send. And then the email to send to. So that's going to be filled in for the to field there. Subject of the email. Pretty self-explanatory, just from AI for all of these. Set to expression. Email type is going to be HTML. That just allows it to look a little bit nicer rather than just plain text. And you can see that was also specified in the prompt when I said format in HTML. So I'll show you that really quickly. Yeah, see, format in HTML. So really easy on us. It just makes it formatted better. But then we're including the message. This is just the body of the email in this case. And you can add different options here. So you can copy people in. You can add attachments. Edit the sender name. send replies to, etc. So we can click out of this. I kept these pretty simple. There's actually a lot more you can add for the email tool. So in order to do that, you just click plus on this little icon here under the tools section. You just type Gmail, and then it will automatically connect your account again. The tool description you're going to want to set manually. You can see that the automatic thing is just consume the Gmail API, and that doesn't really tell the AI agent anything. So whatever resource, so you could do, I'll show you a draft, for example. Well, operation, you can send await for response, reply to an email, label, unread, get money, delete, add label, etc. And then you can set to, maybe you want to create a draft. So create a draft, delete a draft, or get drafts that are already there. So I'll just do create draft, for example. Subject, set to expression, 2 curly brackets, $sign from AI. Again, you're probably tired of that, but subject for draft. So just giving it a little bit of information as to what it should fill in here. So it's just the subject for the draft. And then close the parentheses, or close the parentheses, and then it will fill in as gray. Email type, we might set to HTML. Message, again, set to expression. Type in a variable. I'm not going to go over that again. Body for email. So see that, and then this description, we're just going to say creates a draft for an email. So this just gives the AI agent a little bit of information as to what this tool is doing and which tools it should actually call to do certain tasks. Now you can go through and add different options here. So to email, so who you're sending it to, attachments, you can kind of read through the rest of those and edit those however you'd like, whatever kind of emails you're regularly sending. You can add different tools there and kind of fill them in how you'd like. So now that we've covered all of the agents here, pretty extensive list. Calculator here, again, there's nothing to do. I'm just gonna give it there. I don't know why I would have to use it, but just in case. You can add the search tool here if you'd like for Tavly. There's a lot of different tools you can add inside of Iniden. Vector stores, etc. I've covered those in previous videos. Another cool thing you can do is the next video I will come out with is voice agents. So interacting with this agent through a voice chat. So even more convenient, you can just sit there and talk to it instead of typing. Very cool. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for the next 2 videos I have coming out on that. But yeah, that is how you set up the ultimate AI personal assistant. So we covered this basic workflow and then all of these individual tools here. So I'll have them listed out in the timestamps below so you can kind of skim through. Probably should have said that at the beginning, but oh well. So yeah, that is how you set up the ultimate AI personal assistant. If you have any questions, drop in the comments below. I know this was a lot to cover in one video. So if you have any question about specific agents here, check out my previous videos. I have videos out on all of these agents. Yeah, if you need anything, drop a comment below. If you got anything from this video, leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. Have a good one.